Can you make good weapons without DLC? Payday 2 as a base game is actually quite cheap considering the amount of content you're receiving. However, the sheer volume of equipment locked behind a paywall is certainly staggering. Some players, for a variety of reasons such as being fresh-faced heisters or not having a substantial Payday IRL, find themselves with very little or absolutely no paid DLC. Without the plethora of weapons and modifications granted through the ownership of DLC, what's a career criminal to do? Thankfully, it's not entirely out of the question to get yourself a line of competitive weapons in your arsenal without paying a single cent. Now, heading into this video, there's a few things you'll need to know. First off, I'll be using content from the Butcher's mod pack, which despite its title is completely free and part of the vanilla game. I'll also be using weapons and modifications unlocked by joining the Payday 2 Steam group, which is completely free. If you haven't already, join the group at your earliest convenience. Next, what dictates a weapon being good is keeping pace with DLC variants on Death Wish. If a weapon has potential to compete at the 1-down level, I'll be sure to make note of it. I've modded the weapons to reach what I consider optimal stats. Generally speaking, I prioritize accuracy first, followed by damage and then stability. Obviously, this will vary depending on context. I'll also be using what I'll refer to as best case scenario skills. This means every single skill that increase the visible statistics of the weapon I'm using. And finally, silencer skills. If you're looking to get the most out of your guns, these are the way to go, increasing damage, accuracy, and stability substantially on any firearm that can be suppressed. However, not every build can use silencer skills, much to my disappointment. Sometimes you just don't have enough skill points or simply don't want to use silenced weapons. So here's what I did. Alongside the stats for the normally modded weapons will be the damage, accuracy, and stability numbers I was able to hit using silencer skills, to give you an idea of what the true maximum potential of these weapons is. These weapons were made without any concern for concealment, as the exact concealment values one would need to hit for a dodge or stealth build varies depending on weapon combinations and skill points. However, if a weapon tends to be a good candidate for a dodge build, I'll be sure to make mention of it. Speaking of concealment, this video is only really focusing on weapons for loud heists. If you want a stealth build that can function just fine without paid DLC, check out the stealth build video. And finally, links to all of these weapons alongside the builds I tested them with can be found in the description. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. First up is the UAR, a base game weapon based on the AUG A2. This is a pretty bare bones assault rifle and will only find any real use in an armor build. Sporting middle of the line stats in regards to damage and ammo, when modded correctly with the right skills, this rifle's advantages come from its high accuracy and stability. An above average rate of fire is a boon, although it's offset by the complete lack of magazine customization, aside from the speed pull mag locked behind DLC. Still, if a no strings attached assault rifle is what you're after, the UAR will serve you just fine, assuming you aren't looking to bring it to 1 down. For situations like that, the M308 will be a much better option. This weapon has no problem hitting 100 accuracy with intense damage to boot. The classic DMR from the first game is still one of the kings of the meta today. While the mag capacity seems a little limiting at first, consider that you're intended to take carefully aimed shots for bursts of damage rather than spraying. The only situation I'd recommend swapping to full auto for is to shred bulldozers at point blank range. While lacking the shield penetration of sniper rifles, this gun compensates with excellent ammo efficiency, even without fully loaded. Even though this gun can technically be modded for high enough concealment to work in a surprisingly effective dodge build, it's a bit of a stretch and it comes at sacrificing the power of your secondary. Nevertheless, no matter how much DLC you're packing, the M308 will stand out as one of the best options for any difficulty, 1 down included. Up next is the AK-5, based on the FN-FNC. While this rifle does have concealment options, it's more recommended to increase accuracy, stability, and damage as high as possible for use in an armor build. Similar to the UAR, this is a fairly standard middle-of-the-line rifle. The most notable difference for the AK-5 versus the UAR is the availability of free magazine expansions, although there aren't all that many to choose from without DLC. Nevertheless, the AK-5 sports great ammo efficiency and a reasonably fast reload time, and will function as a reliable firearm for difficulties below 1 down. Concluding my selection of assault rifles will be the AMR-16, based off of an M16. It sports high damage, good mag upgrades, and a fantastic rate of fire. Falling somewhere in the middle of the intense power of the M308 and the spray ability of the UAR and AK-5, the AMR serves for players players want to be more precise with their aim for the majority of combat, but aren't afraid to toggle on auto-fire and send a hail of bullets the cop's way. The biggest downsides of the AMR-16 are struggling to hit maximum accuracy and or stability, and the poor ammo efficiency. If you want to use this rifle for longer heists, I'd recommend bringing fully loaded ACE as well as some ammo bags, especially if you're bringing this gun to one down. Still, if you're looking to strike a balance between the tiers of assault rifles, the AMR-16 will do that just fine. The only akimbo weapon I'll be making mention of is the akimbo BERNETTI 9s. Akimbo's biggest problem tends to be ammo efficiency, depleting ammo twice as fast as most weapons. However, these pistols have a deep ammo pool to work with. The main advantage of akimbo weapons is incredible concealment, which makes them perfect to take in a dodge build. With the high rate of fire, you can shred through cops using critical hits no problem. The reload is a bit slower than you might want, however, if you're holding a pistol in each hand, you can't expect much. If you need a high concealment weapon in the primary slot for a dodge build, the akimbo BERNETTI 9s are a great choice, although their effectiveness on one down may vary. As a DLC-less player, your options for sniper rifles are limited to the PLATYPUS 70. Thankfully, this weapon is by no means an underperformer. 5 shots in the mag with high-end damage will make popping heads, even through walls and shields, a breeze. For extended use on Death Wish or any use on one down, you may want to consider damage increasing skills such as Frenzy or Silencer skills. If the reload speed has you down, you might want to invest in the aced aggressive reload skill. And finally, this weapon can technically function in a dodge build, alongside an extremely compact secondary thanks to the iron sights modification, which some players prefer to a scope. With all of that said, the Platypus may be your only option, but at least it's a good option. Moving on to primary shotguns, we have the MOSCONI double barrel boomstick. Not only a great shotgun for armor players, but it can be modded for extreme concealment to suit the fancies of dodge players. 2 shots may not seem like much, however the blasts are fast and deadly, not to mention followed by a reasonably quick reload. Be sure to take your time while aiming to not let the shells go to waste. Not to say the ammo efficiency of the MOSCONI is bad, but nobody loves to reload during a battle. One of the main features of note is the absurdly high rate of fire pairing well with Bulletstorm or Swan Song. The MOSCONI is a powerful tool when used correctly, and there's not really another weapon like it. Except for the other weapon like it, the JOCELINE OU. At first glance, this may just seem like an ever so slightly worse version of the MOSCONI. However, there is one major difference that stops this weapon from fading into obscurity. The luxurious ammo pouch modification will increase the total ammo of the JOCELINE by 8 rounds, helping with the ammo efficiency a nice amount. Aside from that, the weapons are really quite similar, and it comes down to personal preference which double barrel you'll be choosing, unless of course you're a dodge player, as while the JOCELINE does have concealment mods, they simply aren't as good as the ones available for the MOSCONI. It's worth mentioning neither this weapon or the MOSCONI can be suppressed, but with Overkill Basic you shouldn't find yourself lacking in the damage output department. Whichever double barrel you'll be using, you'll be doing just fine, even on one down. If you're looking for an automatic shotgun, well, your only option will be the IZHMA 12 gauge. Although the default mag capacity and damage are suspect, the close by and overkill skills compensate respectively. Hold down the trigger, find some heads, and go wild! This weapon is the beast at crowd control and room clearing, even on Death Wish. On one down, the lower damage gets you in the end, making this weapon not quite potent enough for longer jobs. With DLC, this weapon can become a monstrous killing machine in a dodge build. However, without DLC, you're better off saving it for armor only. Despite what the stats might suggest, the IZHMA is a fantastic piece of weaponry, provided your build is complementary. Lastly, for primary weapons is the KSP-58, based on the real-life M240B. This is the only light machine gun currently available to players without paying extra, and thankfully will fulfill the role of firing quickly and continuously in reliable fashion. While on the move, the LMG obviously suffers from poor stability and accuracy, even with silencer skills. However, when equipped with a bipod, stability becomes a non-issue, allowing the KSP-58 to shred anything that walks into your line of sight. Of course, this LMG suffers from the same problems that all LMGs do: the aforementioned accuracy, as well as no proper sights, non-existent concealment, and painfully slow reload time, not even to mention being a questionable choice for one down. Still, these would all be problems with DLC light machine guns as well. Similar to the Platypus, despite being the only free weapon of its kind, for the most part, it's still a good choice nonetheless. Right then, we'll talk about secondaries after the break. Welcome back. Now then, we'll start with the Mark 10 based on the Mac 11. Very simple design doesn't mean that it's a simple gun to use. The accuracy and recoil are both intense when not modded properly due to the insane 1000 rate of fire. However, once the stability is maxed out and accuracy is increased as far as they'll go, the Mark 10 makes for an excellent CQC sidearm, mowing down any cops who dare draw near. Not to mention that if you're careful about it, it can serve as a pretty respectable dodge weapon. So if you need a reliable secondary to complement a more accurate but slower primary such as the Platypus, the Mark 10 will do its job without any issue. When it comes to SMGs, if you want more ammo and are willing to sacrifice accuracy and damage, the CMP is right for you. Provided you've maxed out its stability, this SMG will have a more forgiving ammo economy for spraying and praying. The rate of fire is comparable to that of the Mark 10, but what really makes this SMG stand out to me is the insanely fast reload. You won't find yourself caught out with this gun, although when it comes to targets at a distance, you're right out of luck. Aside from that, if you're willing to cut some corners for a faster reload and more ammo, the CMP makes for a great weapon of choice. Now then, if you'd rather go the opposite way and maximize your SMG's damage, the KRINKOV will be your best option. While this Kalashnikov does have a little bit of trouble getting to maximum accuracy and stability, you can use silencer skills to give that little extra boost to get all the way there. I'd recommend using single fire mode with this SMG, or at least firing in bursts. The high rate of fire combined with the strong kick makes for firing extended periods of time at range not the greatest idea. This is driven home even further by the low ammo pool and pickup rate. Fully loaded aced is a strong recommendation when using the KRINKOV. Nevertheless, if you want higher end damage in the secondary slot and don't want rifle skills used to improve your primary weapon to go wasted, the KRINKOV used sparingly will be just fine. Not to mention it's the only SMG of this bunch I'd even consider equipping for a one-down job. As for pistols, the Search for Kento event gifted us the 5.7 AP pistol, a handgun equipped with armor-piercing rounds. Not only that, but the damage, accuracy, and concealment are all excellent, so it'll fit in practically any build you can think of. The ammo efficiency of this gun is a little low, with shallow reserves and a middling pickup rate. However, the obvious advantage this pistol brings is the armor-piercing rounds that will slice straight through shields and walls like butter. Any and all builds, difficulties, and players suit the 5.7 just fine, no pistol skills required, although some assistance from fully loaded aced wouldn't go unnoticed. Next in line is the Bronco 44 revolver based on the Tauros Raging Bull. While 6 shots that can't be expanded upon may seem like a downside, the raw power of the Bronco is a force to be reckoned with, not to mention the excellent accuracy when modded. You'll want to be precise with this gun. Take your time to aim your shots to minimize the amount of somewhat slow reloads. With the aced gunslinger skill, this becomes less problematic, although it's by no means a requirement. Interestingly enough, the Bronco can hit very high concealment thanks to a +3 concealment boost. This means you can make it work fantastically in dodge builds even with less concealed primaries like the Platypus sniper. If you need raw firepower with good ammo efficiency, the Bronco will be a potent sidearm for any difficulty. Following that, we have the White Streak pistol based off of the PL14. Effectively a reskin of the Baby Deagle, this sidearm is a great choice for dodge and armor players alike, while being able to take a silencer unlike the Bronco. The damage is similar to that of the 5.7, and what this pistol lacks in piercing rounds it makes up for with ammo efficiency, allowing it to last out on longer heists, even one down if you're careful. The biggest drawback would have to be the painfully low fire rate, which, while possible to increase with skills, still feels sluggish nonetheless. Regardless, if you want a reliable handgun in practically any build, the White Streak is a smart option for sure. In a similar fashion, the good old Desert Eagle can be modded to suit whatever your needs may be. There are a lot of different ways to get the Deagle to maximum accuracy and high-end damage using skill points and mods in various combinations. This is the great thing about most pistols in general. No matter what build you find yourself in, they can usually fit in quite nicely. The Deagle can be an overcompensating head-popping machine or an elegant concealed stealth piece, and one down is not a problem. Whatever you need it for, the Deagle has always got your back, except for the slow rate of fire. And now for something completely different, the STRYK 18C automatic pistol based on the Glock 18C. Unlike the rest of these pistols, I would highly recommend nabbing every pistol skill you can to power this weapon up. If you do so and get the accuracy and stability as high as possible, you have a pistol with a rate of fire fire clocking at 1,364, absolutely mental. Although the intense recoil generated as a result can be a challenge to control, you'll want to burst fire to hit shots more reliably. Even if this isn't exactly the most practical option, especially not on one down, the STRYK is by no means bad and becomes monstrous during Bolt Storm or Swan Song. If you want a full auto secondary that isn't an SMG, well, this literally is your only other option. But with some tweaking, it's completely functional and a hell of a lot of fun. Finally, we'll check out secondary shotguns, starting with the one, the only, the Judge. This is a revolver shotgun, functioning not unlike the Bronco, but using shotgun mods, skills, and ammo. When modded correctly, the Judge is the highest damage shotgun in the game, and can quickly fire off 5 shots to wipe near any living thing off the map. Of course, then you need to reload, which can take up a lot of time you'd rather be, well, shooting. Be sure to get shotgun skills if you intend to take this weapon to high difficulties. If you get all of the proper boosts for this gun, it can carry the hell out of you and your team even on one down. The big downsides come from the low total ammo and non-upgradable magazine capacity. Still, with a fire rate and damage that high, not to mention the incredible concealment, it's hard to beat the Judge in terms of secondaries. With one extraordinarily notable exception. The Locomotive 12-gauge shotgun is, in my opinion, the best secondary weapon in the game. There's no stat where the Loco is lacking when using complementary skills, that is. If you want to clear corridors without stopping, the Loco has got you covered. If you want to take out a sniper, the Loco can do that for you. If you want to dodge build, the Loco is even capable of that. This gun simply does everything, taking care of enemies at nearly any range. Again, assuming you have shotgun skills. Without them, the low-end damage makes it difficult for the Loco to keep up with the Judge. However, with Overkill Basic and maybe Silencer skills if you're a bit unsure on one down, there's not much that beats the raw power, the ammo efficiency, and the surprisingly good rate of fire of the Locomotive. It's the bread and butter of not only shotguns, not only secondaries, but of all weapons in Payday 2. And that's pretty much everything. While your options are severely limited without coughing up the extra cash, there's still a considerable selection of good weapons without DLC. I'll restate that if you haven't already, be sure to join the Payday 2 Steam group to unlock plenty of weapons, mods, even heists, all for free. Right then, that'll be it for me. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.